Hi, it's Matt here from Digital Matter, and I'm just here to give you a quick walkthrough of our OEM server. This video is just aimed at getting you up and running and a quick overview of all the major features of OEM. We have a lot more detail on our support page, support.digitalmatter.com, and I'll add links below this video for more information on some of the extra functionality and more advanced things you'd want to be doing with OEM server. So let's get started. So just a bit of an overview about what OEM Server is. OEM Server is our device management platform. So what we use OEM for is to configure device settings such as the update rate and configure inputs, driver ID, for example. And this can be done individually or in bulk. We also use OEM to direct data to our end tracking platform, like Telematics Guru or a third-party platform. We also use it to update device firmware and also debug device issues. And finally, it's useful as a management tool for it will report on all the SIMs in our devices, or we can assign devices into groups and categorize them and other things like that. OEM isn't really the place to view and display the device data. In a pinch, we can turn on some data capture while we're getting going. It's mainly a debugging tool, but if we just want to test the device, it works. But no device data is stored by default unless we turn that on. And it's just simply forwarded onto the end platform to visualize and draw your maps and do your reports and whatnot. So OEM is really just the management tool. Let's get going. So when you start up with us at Digital Matter here, our support team will send you an email which will contain a generated password. Once you've logged in, you'll be presented with this screen. So on your first few logs in, you'll have a support link here, and that will take you to this guide and this other key resource here, which is our support page. And that kind of goes hand in hand with OEM. So if we ever want to go and manage a device type, we have to come and select the type here. So we can do it per device type. So for example, the Oyster 2, we can search by the fields here. And here we can either enter a serial, separated by semicolons, or in here we can paste a long list, like ones that we've copy and pasted from a spreadsheet or a CSV. But if we just want to go and view all our oysters, what we do here is we just leave this field blank, click search, and I can see we've got 3 over here. Okay, so we're taken to this device grid. All these columns can be sorted. We can filter them by all these ones, doesn't equal. This is handy for finding different devices, searching, all that kind of stuff. And then we'll go through the columns from left to right. So this details link, it opens this new page, the device details page. And there's a few handy features here, but we'll just come back to that a bit later in this guide. Okay, so then we've got the serial. So this is the Digital Matter serial and the IMEI. Then we have the since connected column. Okay, so a device is considered that it's been connected if it sent a hello message to the OEM server. So this is just the very first bit of its message that it sends up. It sends a bit of a longer message with some more data, but just when it first checks in, then this will go to display green as having connected. Like, for example, this device connected 32 minutes ago, one of my G120s. Okay, so coming back to the oysters. But since committed, there's a few more, it's a bit more strenuous, this one, in that what this means is that the device data has been sent from OEM to the end software platform, and then that platform responded back to say the data was received successfully. So most of the time, if everything's working fine, these will be the same, just like over here. Okay, that means the device connected in, it sent data off to the end server, okay, and the server said, yep, that's fine. Okay, so we'll just skip ahead to one of these columns for the connector here. Okay, and so the connector is essentially what dictates where the device data is sent. Okay, so we can set the connector like this. So device operations and set the connector. Okay, over here I've set the connector to Telematics Guru and APAC 03. Okay, so that's there's multiple Telematics Guru servers, it's just one of them. And so that's going to tell me that the device data is going to go through to TG. If you have your own platform, all you need to do is let us know the details of that, such as the URL or the IP and port, and we can set up a connector for you, and it will appear in your connector list. So then you can set that on your device to send data to your server. So like I said, most of the time since connected and since committed are going to be the same. But we'll just go through a few scenarios where it might be a little bit different. Okay, and I've just flicked back to my G120 to just demonstrate issues with the connectors here, and since connected and since committed, since it's easy for me to just flick the ignition on and get an upload. So I'll just do that now. Okay, and we can see it's connected in now, but it last committed 41 minutes ago, and the reason for that is I've got the connector set to Telematics Guru to send data there, but I haven't actually set it up there. So it's rejecting it, the upload's failing, so then it's connecting in fine, but the commit is failing. So all data is going to be saved on the device until it can successfully commit, so we're never going to lose any data. So yeah, that's one of the main reasons, in that there's usually an issue with the server and that the device simply isn't set up, or the server's down, or there's an issue with the connector if we've just set it up and it's a brand new one. But this is one of the reasons why it's always worth checking OEM Server if you're getting devices aren't connecting on the end platform, because then we can see at least if they're connecting in, then the device is fine. But then if there's an issue with the committing, it's probably just to do with that link between OEM and the end server, or the end server itself. We'll go through how to debug this in a bit more detail a bit later. Okay, moving on. If we come back and look at our location, it's just a Google Maps link of the last updated location. Okay, you can see our office here. Okay, and this is only going to be current as to when it last committed. Okay, so next up in the list we have our group. So we have the distributor group, the vendor group, and the client group. So OEM has a hierarchical group structure. So the distributor is going to be your Digital Matter branch. So in this case, it's Digital Matter Australia, DMNA for North America, and DME for Europe and South Africa. And then the vendor group is you, so the reseller partner. Okay, and then client groups can be then used to segment your devices per customer. So you can move a device into a group like this. If you just go and set the device group, okay, and you just select, it's always going to be the same distributor and vendor. Okay, and we can make a new group if we like from here. So we just new group. We'll click OK for that. Okay, and, so moving forward, next we have the batch string. That's just a generic comment. So you can use that however you like, and you can set that in the same way just by coming here and typing in whatever you want. Okay. Following that, we have the internal and external voltage. Okay, and since I've just refreshed there because I've had this device connecting now, and now that we're committing, this is current. So I've got an internal voltage and an external voltage. So that's handy just as a quick status check, and you can see any major problems at a glance. Okay, and then it comes to the product. So the first number is for the device. So 79 is a G120, and the second number is the variant. So it's normally 0.1 is the 2G version, and 2 is the 4G version of our current lineup. And then we come to the firmware, so the story is the same, so the major version of 2, okay, and the minor version of 0.8. Okay, we can set the firmware to update like this. Okay, and then when we do that, yes, okay, we'll see that it's pending like this, and when this yellow goes away, it means the firmware update's got through. We can see the pending update in the update column. And that the same thing happens for parameters, which we'll see a bit later. Okay, so that effectively covers the grid. Okay, the last few columns we're just going to discuss now as well. So we'll just keep going along. So now we'll just talk about updating the parameters, which is, aside from doing firmware updates, this is probably one of the core functions that we use OEM for, is to change the parameters or settings on the device. So to do this, we'll just go back to our oysters. Again, so now I've got an oyster connecting in, connectors set, but the device isn't set, so it's not committing. So to update parameters on this device, okay, we've got parameters, okay, and we have a few options here. So admin parameters cover network settings like the APN and band masks. It's important not to play with these unless you know what you're doing. You can have a device drop off air if you apply the wrong things. We'll link to some other articles on what you should be doing for admin parameters. But most of the time, you don't really need to touch them. Devices will come online and automatically. So next up is system parameters, and they're the ones that we're usually interested in. These cover things like the update rate, your inputs and your buzzers and what have you. So what we do here is we can edit the parameters. And when we open up the parameters for the first time, we'll see this little screen. And when we can see this and there's no tabs, that means the device is on defaults. In general, it's best to leave most of the settings on defaults. We don't need to go in and add every single parameter. Most of that's handled for us, and we just change and tweak the settings that we need. Given we can't actually see the defaults, if we're a bit unsure, okay, we can come to our support page and I can look at the Oyster 2 Getting Started guide. Okay. And the defaults will be shown in this article down here. So always just poke around the knowledge base if you're not sure. So we can see what they are. So it'll upload every 12 hours while it's not moving, and then while it's on the move, it will get a point every 2 minutes. And we'll upload all these recorded positions every 30. Those are just the defaults, so easy to change. So for example, if we wanted to make a change here, come into our basic tracking tab. So this is to add sets of parameters. Okay, so this is just the basic one. For example, if we wanted to upload every 15 minutes in trip, we'll change that there. Okay, and it's all, especially with the battery powered devices, we just need to keep in mind that it will have battery life implications. So if you're not sure, check the knowledge base or just contact one of us at Informatica Support. And what we can see here is now that I've changed this parameter, if I ever want to turn anything back to defaults, just remove the tab. Okay, and if you see if I add it back again, it's gone back to defaults. Okay, so I might change this one to 15-minute in-trip upload. Okay, and a lot of our parameter tabs as well, if they require any sort of specific setup or they're a little bit tricky, usually have support link out here which you can follow to get a bit more information. So that's there for handy reference. So what we'll do is we'll save the parameters, and as you can see there's a pending update, and again they're active on the device when the device next successfully commits and this is cleared. Okay, so now I've done it for one device and we've tested it and we're happy. We're probably going to want to put it on all our devices, or a set when we send them out to a certain customer. Okay, so we can do that by saving a single device's parameters to a template. So we can do that in here by creating a parameter template. Okay, we just want to double check, so we want system parameters. Those are the ones we've just edited, that's the ones we want to copy. Okay, we just put it into our groups and we can give it any name or description that makes sense to us. So for example, maybe we'll just go, we know it's all on default, so it's 15-minute in-trip upload. So whatever name makes sense, you might name it your customer or something like that. Okay, we've done that. And now to go and apply this to everyone, we just select all the devices from our grid using the filters if we like. Okay, and apply a parameter template. Okay, and you can see it's in the list here with our name and description. Okay, we're applying system parameters again. We just double check it's only 3, which is what we wanted to do, because we don't want to accidentally apply it to our whole set of devices and mess them all up. Okay, and we're done, and we can see now in this column, this is the currently active parameter template. Okay, and the same goes for the column for the admin parameters. Okay, so that pretty much covers the main features of OEM in terms of how you're going to be managing devices on a day-to-day basis. We find our devices perform extremely well and they usually operate as we expect them to, but we also have a few handy debugging features. The first feature here is, coming back to our grid, is the data capture expiry. So we can turn on data capture on a device by selecting the device or devices. Okay, when it comes to device operations, okay, set data capture expiry, okay, and we just pick a date. So I'll put it on to the end of the week. Okay, by default, it's usually about a day. If you just hit OK without selecting a date. And then we can see for the next 2 days, 15 hours, OEM is going to store a record of every that comes through. Okay, and this is handy for a few reasons. So it allows a quick way to view device data before you've done an integration or before you've got everything up and running on your own platform. Additionally, we can compare what comes in the data capture to our own records just to check we've passed all the data out properly and our integration's working. And additionally, it allows our digital matter support team to be able to view the logs coming from the device without needing access to your tracking system, which makes things quick and easy. So yeah, another way we can help you resolve issues. So the way we come and view the logs now is come back to this details page, which I spoke about. Okay, so this loads up. Okay, we come into the logs and we can see the logs. So, and this is what they start looking like. So, so I've got a starter trip. Okay, I've just reset the device and I'm in the middle of the building where there's no GPS, so the GPS comes through as 0. But that's what we see. Okay, and similar to this, on the debug, we have debug flags. So what we can do here is we can set the device debug flags, and this allows us to turn on additional debugging for all these different modules here. So as you saw in those logs before, there were some logs that come through because we do send important ones anyway. But what we can do is severe is the default level, again, I'll have that on to the end of the week, and we can selectively turn on a bit more information. So, for example, I'm not getting a GPS fix here, so I want a bit more information about what the GPS is doing. And I'll just get another upload going. Okay, it's just connected in. Here we can see this GPS debug has come through. Okay, and just a minute later, a couple more logs have come through. So, for example, here we can see information about the strength of the satellite. So the device can just barely see one satellite. I mean, that's pretty surprising. I'm right in the middle of the office and there's no windows anywhere. And it's at this strength. So there's more information about how to read these on our support page. It's just showing you where to look. Additionally, from this screen, what we can look at is, okay, we can view the server logs. Okay, so we can see here the successful commits getting through to the server. So this is the place to be looking when you're integrating, and if you're having issues getting data through to your server, server logs is definitely a good place to check. So moving through the rest of the debugging features here, just the last little note here is we have this details page, and the SIM of our device that it's currently using will be reported, the ICCID. Okay, and if we're using TG, we can see it there. Finally, we have the device debug terminal. Okay, so what we do here is we just come to all. If we ever get this socket error, we just refresh the terminal. Okay, come to all. The device is currently connected. And when we start seeing some data coming through, it will appear live in the terminal. Okay, so now I've got this device uploading, and we can see as it goes, the records are coming in live as we go. We'll see the commits, and any errors will appear in here. So it's another useful debugging tool. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview of the key functionality and troubleshooting features of OEM Server. For any more information, just head to support.digitalmatter.com, our knowledge base. We have plenty of examples of settings and solution guides and full work through scenarios for different applications. But additionally, our support team is always around to answer any of your queries if you need any further assistance, so please don't hesitate to contact us.